Rich Lowry, editor-in-chief of the National Review, Alex Marlow, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, Kim Strassel, Wall Street Journal columnist, Fox News contributor. It's an interesting question, Kim Strassel. What is Hunter Biden doing? I mean, actually, Hunter Biden has a lot of national security information from his various dealings with China and Russia and the Ukraine and Romania. He may know more about national security than his father. What do you think, Kim Strassel?
Yeah, well, obviously, he has no role being in any of these meetings. But you know what this is, Larry? This is a taste of what Democrats are now stuck with from now until November if they decide that they are indeed going to keep Biden as their nominee. Because we had the press corps cover up for this for 3.5 years, but now it is decided to go all in. And it's already committed. It didn't buy the argument that Biden had an off night. So now we have all these stories about how he's been slipping for a while. And so if they keep with him, there is going to be stories day after day about his day-to-day performance, other stories about past episodes, questions about who's advising him and who is in charge. This is only going to get worse, not better.
Yeah, and Alex Marlow, it's the low-energy Democrats nominating the ultra-low-energy Biden. I mean, I think Biden is going to carry the day because nobody really wants to stand up to him or nobody particularly important. Public's going to look at this. They already, 70% think he's already too old. Their convention in Chicago is not even going to be a convention. It's going to be a virtual convention. It's like, can anybody here shoot straight? It reminds me of the early days of the New York Mets. Can anybody here play this game? That's what the Democrats are doing.
Yeah, what's interesting is that all this information was available to people. Joe Biden has famously been a family guy. His inner circle, his sort of kitchen cabinet, has been Valerie, Jill, and Hunter. That's who it's been. He's been a family guy since his early days in the 70s. This is 50 years of this. And we're acting shocked that he's not swayed because the Obama podcast bros think it's time for him to go. He's never cared about these people. He doesn't care about the New York Times editorial page, Larry. He cares about what those three individuals think. And of course, they all want him to stay in.
So he also cares about their interests, right? I mean, this is another factor keeping him in the race. If he beats a disorderly, humiliating retreat from this campaign, can be sure his family is taken care of. I sort of think these Democratic donors who are talking about creating an escrow account for another candidate should be talking about what are the sinecures and sources of income we can create for the Bidens. Then maybe you get a way to get him out. But you're right, he's not leaving.
But Hunter knows a lot about national security. He's had enormous dealings with China. I mean, I say this.
And energy.
I know it's tongue-in-cheek, but this reality is China, Russia, Ukraine. What am I forgetting? Romania. There's a couple of Uzbekistan. I can't remember all of them. There's too many to count. Let's not forget that. I mean, all the Biden family had these LLCs, and here's Hunter now sitting in on everything. So this is not just Edith Wilson. I mean, this actually William McAdoo was the son-in-law back in those days when Edith Wilson ran the country as Joe Biden maybe ran.
As a White House press secretary,
it looks terrible. Come on,
of course it does.
Awful for the Democratic Party.
Has a White House press secretary ever had to utter the words, "The President of the United States is the President of the United States"?
Right.
But that's where they are.
Right.
And Alex is right. This was all out in the open. We knew it, right? We're not insiders, but it's slowly. There's more and more reporting as reporters feel now they suddenly have the courage or truthfulness to begin to report on this stuff.
Kim Strassel, who's going to be Mr. Trump's vice presidential pick?
Well, that's a good question, Larry. So I had Michael Whatley, the RNC chair, on a new podcast I'm doing. And interestingly, he said, yeah, there's been a lot of talk about these three candidates, but there's been a lot of talk about many, many more candidates, and suggested that there is a wider field than people are talking about. I am more concerned. Look, to me, Larry, this is a big moment, not just because of a vice president and their importance in their role, but because if Trump wins, he's got 4 years. So he's essentially anointing the next standard bearer of the party. And, you just had a great segment on the need for pro-growth policies. A couple of those guys on the short list, not as pro-growth as I'd like to see them. So I'm hoping that is top of mind as the president makes this decision.
That, by the way, is a very important point, Kim. You're right. That's a very crucial point. We want the growthiest vice president possible. Alex Marlow, who is the growthiest vice president?
I don't know who the growthiest is. I think they'll all pretty much do what President Trump says because it's his party. It's very clear from the platform. These are all very Trumpian ideas. Everyone said that the platform was basically dictated by Trump himself. So none of that shocks me. The names I'm hearing, Larry, these days, it's always J.D. Vance is towards the top. America First guy. He's got the military background as a Marine, which I think parries some of the BS suckers and losers claim they try to pin on Trump, which is all a big hoax. You can look it up, but they still try to tar him with that. The name that's rising right now seems to be Marco Rubio. Seems very complicated since both men are from Florida. But I think Rubio could be helpful to that group of people who dislike both Biden and Trump. He's a familiar face. He seems more as establishmentarian. And he's the one who seems to be rising quickly. But then you hear Burgum and Youngkin. So I really don't know where Trump's going to go with it.
Rich Lowry, the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal editorial pages suggesting Glenn Youngkin. I don't know if National Review weighed in on this or not, but what do you make of that?
Just posted a column about this. Among the dark horse candidates, and we've heard a lot of those three names we just talked about, I think Youngkin would be the most appealing, not just because he can also appeal to those double haters that Alex mentioned, but if you can flip Virginia, the map totally changes. You don't need to win any of the blue wall states at that point. So it really changes the electoral calculus potentially in a way I don't think any of the other potential Veeps can.
What do you think, Kim Strassel? I'm going to give you the last word because you're the furthest away, I think. Glenn Youngkin, interesting dark horse.
Yeah. And by the way, he'd be really growthy, Larry. I like that. I just think we talked about Vance, Rubio, both of them, some fans of industrial policy, pretty tough, want to take it to corporate America. And I'm just not sure that gels with the growthiest idea you have.
The growthiest, I used to say, when I worked in the White House, that was my favorite line. I want growthier. I want low tax rates, and I want a strong dollar, and I'm reading that in Trump's new platform. Low tax rates, and the dollar remains the world's reserve currency. That is a prescription for, wait for it, economic growth and energy. Rich Lowry, last word. The Democrats have no energy. Come on. Biden has no energy. The Democrats have no energy. All the energy is with Trump right now and the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
Don't you
Joe
think?
Biden has just suffered the worst 2 weeks of any presidential candidate in memory.
Yeah, that's it. I got to get out of here. You guys are terrific. Thank you. Let's be growthier. Rich Lowry, Alex Marlow, and Kim Strassel. We appreciate it.